For this book review, I'm going to go over a nice little one-shot story, originally written in 1942. It's by Elsbrich de Camp and Fletcher Pratt. That is The Land of Unreason. The story goes as follows. Fred Barber, a diplomat from America, on vacation in Yorkshire during the the English bombing and all that. He's there, taking vacation. The couple who's he's living under, they have to go off and do certain things throughout the night, while the bombings are happening. So he has to stay behind. Well, not have to. He's about to get ready to go to bed. But instead of just having a drink of scotch before he goes to bed, he finds a bottle of milk that the lady in the house left there. Apparently, there's a tradition that if you leave a bottle of milk and a plate for the fairies on St. John's Eve, the fairies will take that and not go into your house and steal your child, and leave a change in its place. You may have heard this type of tradition before. Okay, well, Fred Barber doesn't follow through, go with that. He'd rather have the bottle of milk, and so he drinks it, and the fairies do take him. There's no other child in the house, and and so they went and grabbed him instead. And they went as far as trying to put a diaper on him. That's the kind of humor we're dealing with there. So, going through all, trying to fight off all that, Fred Barber is now introduced to King Oberon and Queen Titania. And, trying to be the diplomat that he's trained to do, he convinces him of his skills and abilities. So Oberon sends him to a task. Right now, the land is going through some changes, very strong changes. The land of fairies is very beautiful and all that, but these shapings that are happening, causing magic not to work right, turning, the brightness of the land into dark and dreary look and everything. So he's, Fred Barber is going on a series of adventures to help solve through that. And apparently there's this prophecy that he comes across bit by bit, talking about a red-bearded man that will come by and fix all the problems that were set up by Oberon and someone else years ago. So, I'll leave the details of that for you when you get to reading it. So, his first task is Oberon sends, Barber to the Cobalt Mountains because apparently they're getting ready to make war in a sense because they're making all these iron weapons. Kobolds are resistant to iron, but to Oberon they're quite deadly. So that's his first task. So he sends Barber off with a new set of clothes, but as he's getting a new pair of clothes, Taylor notices that Fred Barber is getting more of a hump growing out of his back, and he's told, he's going to sprout rings here sometime. He does later on in the book, but we won't see details of how that works. In addition to that, Queen Titania gives him his wand, and he just says, go to the Cobalt Mountains. That's all the directions he's given. He has to kind of find out through the forest as he goes along. He comes across some interesting characters, and his conversations with them have to be with dealing. He's a logical man, a diplomat, and he has to try and deal with the illogic that he's facing with the people of Fairyland. Oh, another thing about Fred Barber, he found out he has an innate ability to tell when people is lying or foresights, so that's given him quite a bit of advantage. So through that, he eventually through his adventures, has a, falls for, there's a wood nymph that falls for him, everything. But all through that, he finally finds the Cobalt Mountains, and, he's told when he faces them and tries to fix the problem, he can't use force or violence. He has, and he does, in a very humorous way, that, it's classic Sprague de Camp and Fletcher Pratt when they do this sort of comedic fantasy. He runs across a farmer who was a human like him. It was taking to Fairyland, but he just runs a farm now. And Barber tries to stay there for a while, but he finds out that he's kind of compelled to continue on his quest for a couple of reasons. He later goes back and goes through this underwater kingdom, which as he enters in, he has to realize he can't get out normally without turning into a frog, so he has to face all that. And all this is part of a upcoming prophecy of a man who's trying to fix this event that's happened to Fairyland. So it's just below 240 pages with the edition I have right here, and again, it's a nice little one shot of a nice. It's not dark fantasy at all, but it's a nice humorous fantasy which we don't have too much of these days. I enjoyed it. For I understand why, the ending is kind of bittersweet. And the fact that it does end up good, but through a character he meets earlier, and, and what happens with that, you kind of feel sad that, just for one brief moment described about that. But it's not, it's not untypical of fairy tales and stuff like that. So, this is a quick review. Land of Unreason by Elsbrey de Camp and Fletcher Pratt. A good one-off story. And it's one of those, here's a book I would probably suggest that if you go to a used bookstore and you look upon all the titles there that are not, you're obviously not in print anymore. But a lot of them are just like these one-off titles. Too much of fantasy on the shelves these days are multi-volume books. And, you gotta have these big, long, epic adventures. They gotta be at least 3 books, if not more. And unfortunately, I talked to a couple people that think, they have without directly saying so, it's like they expect fantasy to be just that. Guys, a good story is a good story, regardless of its length, from a short story to a multi-level epic. So, there's things in between. This is one book you read and you enjoy by itself. Don't have to, as far as I know, there's no other books in this. But if you want something along the same lines, that by the same authors, read the Harold She stories. That's the Incomplete Enchanter series. So that's multi-volumes. And again, they're not like 800-page phone book fantasy. This is probably about that much when you read all the books together. I haven't counted them. I have a whole set, but I even have to read them all. I've only read the first book, but I digress. Okay, so again. Land of Unreason. Nice little fairy tale of a man, brought into fairyland, is using his abilities to try to solve the problems, and and how he grows, into that, trying to be a rational man in an irrational world. Does he make it to the end? How does he turn out? And again, read it, find out. Thank you all for watching. Have a nice day.